Misfortune, a constant part of human life, has been the topic of significant philosophical and cultural reflection throughout history. In investigating how tragedy is seen and justified, we dig into the complex interaction of ideas such as chance, destiny, and the human proclivity to find significance or randomness in occurrences. This investigation cuts across geographical and chronological boundaries, giving insights into the human condition and how people and civilizations traverse the stormy seas of adversity. The primary issue behind the concept of misfortune is why terrible things happen to good people. This age-old quest delves into the depths of human cognition, challenging our notion of justice, morality, and the universe's underlying order or chaos. Philosophers, theologians, and intellectuals from many traditions have approached this subject from a variety of angles, each offering light on distinct aspects of the human experience. Ancient Greek thinking provides one of the oldest philosophical solutions to the dilemma of misfortune. Stoicism, a school of philosophy established in Athens by Zeno of Citium in the 3rd century BCE, advocated accepting destiny and cultivating inner peace in the face of misfortune. The Stoics believed that tragedy was an unavoidable part of the human condition, and that one's reaction to it, rather than the event itself, was within their control. The notion of amor fati, or the love of destiny, is central to this philosophy, and it urges people to accept whatever circumstances they face as necessary components of a wider cosmic order. Epictetus, the Stoic philosopher, said that men are disturbed not by things, but by the views which they take of them. In contrast, ancient Greek tragedians like Sophocles and Euripides provided a more fatalistic interpretation of disaster. In their plays, the theme of hubris, or overwhelming pride, often leads to a catastrophic collapse, emphasizing the precariousness of human life in a cosmos driven by unpredictable forces beyond mortal understanding. The tragic hero, despite their good aims and moral attributes, becomes entangled in a web of disaster and misery. This story reinforces the Greek traditional belief that destiny, an unstoppable and almighty force, rules human existence. The Greek tragedies eloquently depict the repercussions of human limits and the inevitable disaster that occurs when humans strive to transcend their limited place in the cosmic order. Moving beyond ancient Greece, Eastern philosophical traditions provide different viewpoints on misfortune. In Hindu philosophy, the notion of karma gives a framework for comprehending misfortune caused by one's acts in previous lifetimes. Karma, which literally means action, holds that every action has repercussions that shape one's future situations. The cycle of karma and reincarnation samsara implies that misfortune is not random, but rather the result of one's actions, giving a moral underpinning for human misery and fortune. This viewpoint urges people to act righteously in order to build good karma and achieve a more favorable reincarnation. While Buddhism and Hinduism share the notion of karma, Buddhism focuses a strong emphasis on the nature of suffering and how to end it. The Four Noble Truths, at the heart of Buddhist teaching, state that life is inherently suffering dukkha, that suffering is caused by desire tanha, and that removing desire can lead to the cessation of suffering, culminating in nirvana, a state of liberation and freedom from the cycle of rebirth and suffering. Thus, in Buddhist thought, tragedy is seen as part of a larger fabric of human suffering that may be overcome by spiritual practice and detachment from material cravings. In the monotheistic religions of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, adversity is sometimes seen as divine will or testing. Misfortunes might be seen in these frameworks as tests of faith or supernatural interventions intended to instruct or correct the believer. The Book of Job in the Hebrew Bible is a moving examination of suffering and faith, with Job's devastating losses serving as a test of his righteousness and faithfulness to God. Similarly, in Christianity, suffering is often seen as a participation in Christ's sufferings, which add a redemptive or purifying dimension to human misery and misfortune. Existentialist thinkers like Soren Kierkegaard and Jean-Paul Sartre saw misfortune as a reflection of personal responsibility and freedom. They believe that humans are thrust into an absurd universe devoid of intrinsic purpose, and that they must create worth and meaning through their choices and actions. Misfortune, in this view, is part of the existential condition, a challenge that must be met with personal sincerity and moral bravery, regardless of whether disaster is attributed to destiny, karma, divine will, or existential randomness. A similar thread runs through all of these perspectives: the search for meaning and techniques for dealing with life's unavoidable obstacles. The human reaction to adversity, whether via acceptance, moral behavior, religion, or existential commitment, gives profound insights about the values, beliefs, and resilience of people and societies. Thus, the philosophy of misfortune offers a rich tapestry of insights into how many cultures and philosophical traditions perceive and react to life's challenges. Exploring these numerous viewpoints provides us with not only a better understanding of human nature and its ability for resilience, but also a greater respect for the various ways in which mankind attempts to make sense of the unexpected and sometimes brutal facts of life. This investigation into the philosophy of misfortune goes into contemporary psychological explanations of how people perceive and process adversity. To better understand how individuals cope with adversity, psychologists have extensively researched issues such as locus of control, resilience, and cognitive biases. These findings deepen our knowledge of misfortune by emphasizing the importance of individual psychological characteristics in interpreting life's adversities. The idea of locus of control, proposed by psychologist Julian B. Rotter, is very important. It refers to people's belief that they have control over the outcome of life events, as opposed to external causes. Individuals with an internal locus of control think that their actions have a major impact on outcomes, and they are more inclined to take preventative measures to avoid disaster. Those with an external locus of control, on the other hand, may attribute tragedy to destiny, chance, or other external circumstances, thus leading to emotions of powerlessness and passivity. Resilience, another important psychological term, refers to the capacity to recover from unpleasant events via adaptive behavioral and cognitive processes. Research has revealed that resilient people are better able to deal with adversity, either perceiving it as a short setback or a chance for progress. This is consistent with philosophical perspectives that advocate for accepting and transforming pain, such as Stoicism and Buddhism. Cognitive biases also influence how adversity is justified. For example, the negativity bias, which is the propensity to focus on bad occurrences rather than good ones, might influence how individuals view their luck and interpret disasters. Similarly, the just world theory leads some to assume that good things happen to good people and terrible things happen to evil people, in an attempt to make sense of tragedy by assigning it to a moral order in the universe. By combining these psychological perspectives with philosophical viewpoints, we get a full picture of how adversity is understood and controlled. This combination of insights provides for a more comprehensive understanding of the many techniques individuals use, ranging from philosophical surrender and spiritual enlightenment to psychological coping mechanisms. Furthermore, the impact of culture in influencing reactions to adversity should not be overlooked. Misfortune is seen and dealt with differently depending on cultural beliefs and customs. Collectivist civilizations, for example, may stress social support and shared responsibility in the face of catastrophe, while individualistic societies may emphasize personal success and self-reliance as coping techniques. When we study these three dimensions, philosophical, psychological, and cultural, it is clear that the human experience of tragedy is a complicated tapestry made from many diverse threads. Each viewpoint provides unique insights into how people and society make sense of the challenges they confront, emphasizing both the variety and universality of the human experience. Finally, the philosophy of misfortune is more than just an academic investigation. It is a deep examination of the human soul. It raises basic concerns about destiny, justice, morality, and the purpose of existence itself. By examining how different philosophies, cultures, and psychological frameworks deal with misfortune, we not only gain a better understanding of this unavoidable aspect of life, but also learn about the various ways in which humans strive to persevere, find meaning, and eventually overcome the challenges that fate throws at them. This deep discussion between varied viewpoints strengthens our collective knowledge and serves as a compass for gracefully and resiliently navigating the unpredictability of life. When these notions are combined, it becomes evident that the philosophy of misfortune is a place where existential questions connect with practical solutions, implying a multidisciplinary approach to understanding human resilience and adaptation. As we go further into this junction, we learn that the subject of misfortune is about more than simply knowing why adversity arises. It is also about figuring out how to live effectively in its midst. This multidimensional approach yields useful insights into both social and individual well-being. For example, merging philosophical principles with psychological research may strengthen educational institutions and therapeutic procedures. We may build a more resilient society by teaching people about various cultural and philosophical viewpoints on adversity. This integration not only prepares people to tackle personal obstacles, but it also improves their capacity to sympathize with others' problems, resulting in a more empathetic community. Furthermore, in an era of global connectedness, knowing the many cultural narratives around tragedy may lead to more successful international and cross-cultural relationships. In times of global crisis, such as natural disasters, economic downturns, or pandemics, a thorough grasp of these different views on adversity may help to strengthen joint efforts and assistance distribution, ensuring that solutions are culturally responsive and more likely to succeed. Furthermore, the influence of media and technology on views of tragedy should not be disregarded. In today's digital era, individuals are continuously inundated with news about global disasters and personal misfortunes, which might distort perceptions of danger and misery. Media literacy and critical thinking are vital in guiding people through this terrain without becoming depressed or passive. Media may help shape public attitudes toward hardship by offering a balanced perspective of the human experience, which involves acknowledging both tragedy and fortune. Finally, the philosophy of misfortune teaches us about the inevitability of hardship and the potential of overcoming it. It demonstrates human creativity and perseverance. From the Stoics, who advocated accepting destiny without surrender, to the existentialists, who focused on finding meaning in the midst of chaos, to current psychologists who study resilience mechanisms, each worldview provides essential strategies for coping with life's obstacles. The continuing discussion about misfortune is more than just an intellectual argument. It is an important topic about how we live our lives and how we may help one another during tough times. It invites us to consider not just why tragedy occurs, but also how we might react in smart, effective, and compassionate ways. By continuing to interact with these varied perspectives, we may expect to get a deeper understanding of the nature of tragedy, while also equipping ourselves with the wisdom to confront it with bravery and grace. Thus, the philosophy of misfortune is about more than simply comprehending life's obstacles. It's also about living a life that respects those challenges while striving for pleasure, purpose, and satisfaction. It invites us to delve deeply into the essence of our existence, and in doing so, discover methods to go beyond the superficial and into the profound. As we broaden our knowledge of tragedy via philosophical, cultural, and psychological perspectives, it is also worthwhile to investigate how adversity has been depicted and considered in poetry and literature. These creative works provide a visceral, moving depth to our awareness of hardship, providing both comfort and insight. Literature has always dealt with themes of tragedy, often crafting tales that reveal the depths of human pain and perseverance. Consider Victor Hugo's Les Miserables, in which tragedy and social injustice play key roles. Hugo beautifully conveys the hardships of the oppressed and their indomitable spirit with phrases such, "Even the darkest night will end and the sun will rise." This represents a positive view on misfortune, implying that pain, although deep, is fleeting and may lead to fresh starts. Similarly, in William Shakespeare's Hamlet, the title character considers the nature of pain and human endurance in his famous soliloquy, "To be or not to be." Hamlet dwells on life's miseries, which leads him to question the meaning of existence itself. This soliloquy depicts the existential weight of tragedy, presenting a thorough examination of the individual's encounter with the darkest parts of human existence. Poetry also focuses profoundly on adversity, often reducing complicated human emotions into succinct and powerful statements. Emily Dickinson's poem, Hope is the Thing with Feathers, employs the metaphor of a bird singing its song without expecting anything in return, even in the midst of a storm. This represents hope's persistent character in the face of life's calamities. Dickinson's words, "And sweetest in the gale is heard, and sore must be the storm that could abash the little bird that kept so many warm," imply that hope endures and brings warmth, even in the darkest of circumstances. Another significant study of misfortune in poetry is Robert Frost's The Road Not Taken. This poem brilliantly conveys the essence of decision and consequence, a kind of existential misery, as the speaker thinks on the route traveled and the one foregone. The final words, "Two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference," capture the bittersweet nature of such decisions, emphasizing the unavoidable sorrow or curiosity about the one not taken. These literary and lyrical excursions deepen our philosophical and psychological debates by adding levels of emotional and existential depth. They show not just the cognitive and cultural components of tragedy, but also its emotional resonance and effect on the human spirit. Furthermore, literature and poetry act as therapeutic tools, providing not just an escape, but also a way to process and articulate sorrow, loss, and struggle. Individuals discover a common experience of tragedy via these creative representations, a collective story that often provides solace and a feeling of not being alone in their troubles. Thus, the study of misfortune, aided by literature and poetry, is more than just an academic pursuit. It is a trip that links us intimately to the human experience, as we reflect on how hardship changes us and how our answers to it reveal our fundamental values and abilities. By combining intellectual rigor with the emotional depth of literature, we acquire a more complete picture of how humanity have traversed the stormy landscapes of disaster, discovering routes to perseverance, understanding, and, in some cases, salvation. This multidisciplinary approach not only broadens our knowledge, but also improves our ability to empathize and live more completely, especially in the face of life's unavoidable challenges. As we delve further into the link between tragedy and creative expression, we realize that art and literature actively change and modify our impressions of adversity, rather than passively reflecting them. This dynamic exchange teaches deep insights about the human ability to reframe and reclaim painful events via creativity. In Russian literature, Fyodor Dostoevsky's writings are notable for their in-depth investigations of suffering, redemption, and the human soul. In Crime and Punishment, Dostoevsky delves into Raskolnikov's psychological and existential quandaries, who feels that tremendous sorrow might justify extreme measures. The story dives extensively into the ramifications of such thinking, demonstrating how adversity, both self-inflicted and externally caused, changes one's mentality and moral decisions. Dostoevsky's observation that suffering is the sole origin of consciousness emphasizes not just the transformational potential of suffering, but also its critical role in gaining deep self-awareness and spiritual awakening. Similarly, Langston Hughes' poetry from the Harlem Renaissance demonstrates how adversity can be a tremendous motivator for creative and social change. Hughes' poem, Mother to Son, in which a mother compares her life's difficulties to mounting a metaphorical staircase, is a moving example. The phrase, "life for me ain't been no crystal stair," highlight the challenges that African Americans have encountered throughout history. However, the poem's overarching theme is one of resilience and optimism, encouraging the next generation to continue the climb and demonstrating the motivating power of shared historical sorrow. The link between hardship and creative expression may also be seen in contemporary music genres, such as blues and jazz, which emerged in African American communities as representations of struggle, despair, and hope. These musical traditions transformed personal and communal tragedy into profound creative expressions that have reverberated throughout the world, inspiring many other music genres and performers. The blues, in instance, are direct successors of African American slave songs and labor chants, embodying an art form created in the furnace of pain and misfortune, but also expressing tenacity, inventiveness, and the human spirit's perseverance. In these situations, art and literature do more than only show tragedy. They also serve as means for communities and people to make sense of and deal with their problems. They give voice to the voiceless and strength to the weary, converting personal and communal trauma into stories of resilience and hope. Furthermore, interacting with these manifestations of adversity in art and literature helps build empathy and a better knowledge of various human situations. It forces viewers to face painful facts about society and the human condition, encouraging a contemplative and empathic reaction. This sympathetic participation is critical in a worldwide environment, where knowing and valuing different types of tragedy may result in more compassionate and inclusive communities. Finally, the interaction between adversity, art, and literature deepens our awareness of human pain and resilience. It reminds us that, although tragedy is an inherent part of the human experience, it also has the possibility for redemption, change, and deep understanding. Individuals and communities use creative expression to tell their tales of hardship, not just to document their experiences, but also to affirm their agency in reshaping their futures. By embracing the tales of tragedy found in literature, poetry, and the arts, we get insight into the depths of human experience, while also learning the critical role of creativity in creating meaning and beauty from the chaos of life. This investigation emphasizes the transforming potential of human creativity in response to life's adversities, eventually offering a positive outlook on the ability to convert sorrow into something deeply instructional and fulfilling.